Welcome to Home and Away, hosted by myself, Graeme and Glen, where we discuss for the last time all things World Cup. This episode, we are joined by returning regular Jeremy Oster from Colorado Spurs to sum up our thoughts on the World Cup now that the final's been played and Spain have won the trophy. A lot to discuss. Let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glenn, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Breathed a bit of not really a sad sigh of relief, but it's all over. Disappointing the way it ended. We'll get into, I'm sure. But I'm broadly okay. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm almost glad it's behind us and on to club football again.
Yeah, indeed, which we'll be speaking about in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know about that. I'll be Wednesday, 5:00, MK Dons.
That's right.
At the training ground, live on SpursPlay.
There you go.
I'll be there.
Indeed. Good stuff. Jeremy, how are you, mate? Welcome.
Good, mate. Yeah, happy to be with you guys. It's been a fantastic World Cup, hasn't it? I mean, it really turned out to be a superb exhibition of football for most of the countries involved. One maybe not so much, but that's okay. It's the World Cup.
I think for me, and we cover obviously the meaningless game that was third place playoff, and then obviously the final. I think for me, early on in the World Cup, there's a Australian guy that I work with. He actually doesn't mind football, but on a moral ground, he just refused to watch any of the World Cup. And I was trying to talk to him about it, and I said, look, I think both things can be true. You can still like football. You can still enjoy the World Cup for what it is with the football. And also the other thing that can be true, that it's corrupt and that it's Trump's involved in Infantino. So I think to your point, Jeremy, I thought a lot of the football that was played was top notch. I really did. I think there were some great games, but Trump had to get involved, of course. I didn't love, and again, this goes back to my point on both things can be true. I didn't love the four quarters of a game. I didn't love the music. I didn't love the halftime show, which I didn't even watch. So you're in America, Jeremy. Did Denver get caught up in this World Cup fever? Or was it more isolated to the cities that actually hosted? Because sadly, Denver wasn't a host.
Yeah, they made a decision that it was just too expensive to do it. And a lot of the cities who did host are actually doing kind of a looking at it, reconciling and deciding if it was worth it. But for Denver, they decided it wasn't financially worth it because FIFA demands so much money for it. So it was weird because there was a lot of a buzz here, but it wasn't really a feeling like the World Cup's really happening. You had to go find it.
Yeah.
Which obviously I did.
Yeah. And then, Graeme, from your perspective, mate, England, the kickoff times were a challenge.
Most of them weren't too bad, like somewhere between 8 and few at 8, few at 10. Then you had that one game that was the 1 a.m. kickoff,
which was great for me because that was 11 a.m.
Yeah, it was bad, and then it got worse when it was delayed an hour, of course. So it was like 2 a.m. kickoff, but it was a one-off, so it wasn't too bad. But it did, you're getting to a certain age when something like that can just basically write you off for the whole week. We really struggled. But yeah, it was. I think the weird thing was the span of don't understand how we can have games that kick off at 5:00 in the UK and then 4 a.m. in the UK. It's like that swing is massive. I don't recall that ever being the case for other tournaments. And we've had tournaments in South America and in Asia where there is definitely a big time difference, but it feels like the gaps between matches sometimes were massive.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand is how America's the host, right? So you think it should be prime time here. It should be the big one. I remember when South Korea had it, we had to get up at crazy hours to watch those games, right? But they had the semi-finals at like 3:00 in the afternoon, East Coast time, which means anybody working is missed probably the most exciting games that were going to be. Doesn't make any sense.
For context, that's 1:00 in Denver.
Yeah.
And that's noon on the West Coast. That's slap bang in the middle of a workday.
I had to take the whole day off. I mean, literally. I mean, obviously there is a choice. I could decide to work, but it's not really a choice, is it? England in the semi-final.
No.
If any customer's upset about it, I'm sorry. It's just the way it's going to be. But it's the way it is.
Well,
it was weird.
As far as the review of the actual football, that's probably a good place to start. The last guest we had on was from Buenos Aires. I thought Tuchel, England, as a collective, will leave that semi-final incredibly regretful. I didn't understand the changes. I didn't understand the mentality. especially when you go all the way back to the first game against Croatia. And apparently Tuchel said at half-time, it was 2-2. And he said, if we lose this game, we lose our way, we attack. And there was none of that in the semi-final. It was so disappointing, so disappointing. And as has been proven in the final, which we'll review in a little bit, they really aren't that good. It was just, and I thought the way they conducted themselves in the semi-final, early doors, I think there was a rabbit punch to the back of Elliot Anderson's head. There was grappling, there was kicking. And then as soon as Elliot Anderson put a slight late one on Messi, it was an immediate yellow card.
It wasn't even a late one. They sandwiched him, and it was just a foul, because two people came together.
And they're so quick to surround the players and the man and the coaches and everything. It's just so, the reaction is just so choreographed, isn't it?
And there was a little
but
bit
our players surrounded the ref after that first Anderson incident, because that was a pretty
Bellingham,
bad one. It should have been a red card by the rules of the game. He literally went in aggressively and violently punched him to the neck. Anything on the neck or the head is a straight red card. And I think you can pretty much guarantee that if an England player had done that to him, he would have probably got a red card in the second minute. And the fact that they got nothing, and they did that all the time, then they realized they could do whatever they want because the ref wasn't going to call anything. And it was just diabolical. How the ref got chosen in the first place is diabolical. They were better qualified referees for that kind of game.
MLS ref, yeah.
Is he it's not that guy, or is it, which game was it that had the guy that had been done for match fixing before?
I can't remember the game, but I know the guy you mean. This guy that we had in the semi was an MLS referee who's refereed Messi, I think, 17 times in the MLS, and he's won every time. So
no, it's only like 6 or 7 times.
Still,
that wasn't a big deal. But the fact of the matter is he got chosen rather than far more qualified referees who could have picked.
Yeah.
Who they could have picked. So that tells you a story right there.
It needed controlling, didn't it, as a match? Well, it was always going to be a toughly contended match, and it needed someone to really take a grip of it early on, and that never happened.
Do
you think it was fixed?
I think that's incredibly difficult to do, but I think there was certainly favouritism all the way to that semi-final, including that semi-final to the current world champions, is where I'll say my hat lands. I think fixing something so difficult to do because you need so many. Do you know what, Jeremy? I liken it to the conspiracy theories that say COVID was an inside job, but that would mean Pakistan and India have to get on. Not going to happen. And I just think too many people would need to be involved, and you need one to have integrity, and I think a lot of people exist in the world with integrity. So I don't know that it was fixed, but I certainly think there was favouritism in certain moments.
That's fixing it as well. I mean, there's no way that the dirtiest team on the planet got away without a single VAR review going against them.
Shocker. And it was 1 every 22 fouls they got a yellow, and England's was 1 every 7 across the tournament.
Every 8 or 9, something like that.
A lot lower. A lot lower.
Yeah.
There was even, I think that just before was it the equaliser against Egypt? There was a something at the other end of the pitch that Egypt should have had, wasn't there? I mean, stuff like that just seemed to always go in their favour.
I mean, and these are the things you kind of expect from playing Argentina, but we tried to take a quick throw in and then they kicked another ball on the pitch, knowing full well with 2 balls on the pitch that can't happen.
Yeah.
But why are they, this is my question, this is on FIFA and the organisation, why are there balls in front of their dugout? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you need 1 ball. That's it.
Maybe they planned it. Probably FIFA came up with the idea. Here's a ball in case you need it if England are like getting some good rhythm on a throw-in. But there's so many things that add up to a serious question being asked. One, I was looking up before, and they do assign the grounds, the fixtures, where they're going to play what time after the draw is made, right? So they knew the draw was made.
Yep.
And they decide to play England in that knockout game, which is likely to be against Mexico, a very good chance, even if it's not, in the Aztec Stadium, with a good chance it'll be Mexico, with all the altitude. There's no way they wanted England to go through to meet Argentina in the semi-final. That's my opinion on that. You look at the travel distance. Argentina had the shortest travel distance of any team.
Any team, yeah.
And they always had evening fixtures. Never had a daytime fixture. I mean, just look at it. The favoritism was just insane. And I understand Messi is such a commercial monster, and especially being in America with the MLS. But I think it really, to me, stinks to high heaven of something really, really bad that was afoot.
When the president of FIFA is receiving phone calls from Donald Trump, you wouldn't put anything past him, right? This is what it just calls into question everything.
Everything.
I mean, and look, moving away from whether it was fixed or not, we had them where we wanted them, and that was really disappointing for me. 1-0 up, half an hour to go, 25 minutes to go, and we just got deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm like, well, what happened?
It was like watching a Thomas Frank Tottenham team.
Yeah.
We just that we seem to forget how to. We lost the ability to play the ball out. We brought off all the players that would have given us an out ball. He took Gordon off, and he was having an absolute fantastic game. Yeah. Just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
In the end, we basically had Kane was the only person, and he's got no pace, so he's good. But he got no running pass.
Rashford on for Kane, go down the middle.
Yeah. And in the end, we ended up with 6 defenders on the pitch, and
not one of them engaged Messi.
Yeah, and by the time we're 2-1 down, we just don't have anyone on the pitch there was no chance for us really getting back into it. We didn't have anyone to get back at the other end of the pitch and score a goal.
It was too late to get back into it. It was just hoping for extra time. And we still had a couple of subs to use at that point. We had 2 subs plus the 1 extra one. So he could have changed it around, there's no doubt. But I think he got false hope from Mexico and Norway thinking the same tactics will work. You can't do that against Argentina. It's pretty obvious. But I think the players let him down as well because they were clearly not pushing up the way that I think they were supposed to. So my understanding, he wanted to help them, but I don't think he helped them at all.
Correct you there slightly, Jeremy. I think you can do that against Argentina without Lionel Messi in the team. And I think he was...
that's the thing. When you've got him just hovering around
Messi.
If he's hovering around the D and you give him that much space and that much time, he's going to find a ball, isn't he?
Doesn't matter if he's 39 or 59. His ability, he's going to find someone with a ball if you give him the space to do so.
And we were so deep, we didn't even have to run, did it?
No. Well, this is it. And that was my disappointment. Make him run then. Make him work. That's what Gary Lineker was saying. I saw a bit on Gary Lineker said about it. He goes, engage him and make him work. And none of that happened. Jeremy made a really good point. I caught up with Jeremy on Friday morning for about 20 minutes over a phone call. You said Kobbie Mainoo, mate. You were so baffled that he wasn't used.
I was baffled. Because he's a player that can drive forward. He's quite confident. He's got some power about him. And I just thought he was the player. If you want to go a bit more defensive and you want to take Gordon off, which I think is a mistake anyway, but I would have taken off, who was starting on the right? Rodgers, wasn't it?
Which is a weird, it did work, but that was weird. Yeah, that was weird anyway.
It worked one time, but he found a bit of space. But I would have probably taken Rodgers off and brought in Mainoo, and then you've got a solid 3 in the midfield. Because the only way you're going to beat Argentina is to starve them with the ball in that last third of our side of the pitch.
Yeah,
and Spain showed what happens. As long as you keep the ball away from Messi, they're not going to get a whole lot on you. And it was just crazy to me to have that. And as soon as you took Gordon off as well, they have no fear. They can commit the centre backs. Romero can push forward,
and the
they can do whatever they want.
Push right up as well.
Fullbacks are on. We have, all you're doing with that is just inviting the pressure on with no possible way of getting out. Yeah. Absolutely mental. I just don't understand it. But I also do have a different opinion about Tuchel than some might. Because I think so. Glenn, what are your thoughts? Should we keep him or not?
No, I think he should go. I think he was brought in to do the very thing that we couldn't do under Gareth Southgate. He was brought in as an elite manager. Even his very first press conference / interview, he talks about what he's been brought in to do, and he hasn't delivered on that. And I see nothing different. I really like Gareth Southgate for what it's worth in terms of what he built at England, what he changed us from 2016 against Iceland to what we are now. But the missing part was being brave and being bold and taking some risks in major games. And I looked at that, and it could have been Southgate on the touchline. And I think Tuchel, he's failed. That's a failure. And we're almost scared to say it. For me, it's a failure. And the FA do these stupid things where they get contract extensions before tournaments. So he signed a contract extension in February.
Till 2030, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the Euros. Yeah.
Which is just...
No, is it to the Euros anyway?
I think, yeah.
2028, I think.
I'm just baffled by his tactics, baffled by everything that he said to that point was the opposite to what he did. Even some of the senior players apparently are unhappy with him. So for me, he has to go, but Jeremy, it sounds like you might have a differing view, which is fine, of course.
I do. I have a very different view. And also, Graeme, you mentioned about the third place playoff, which I didn't even really bother watching because I was in the store. So I'm like, well, whatever, who cares about this game? Obviously, it turned out to be a blinder. But I actually now thought afterwards, seeing the players get their medals, it is an important game. And I think that game between England and France showed that it is actually an important game. And I think it might change the nature of that game going forward and the attitude towards it, because you still get that medal. If you're a player, France have got nothing to show from it. Our boys will always have now that medal, that bronze medal. That counts for something, surely.
Look, on that game, and we'll come back to you in a sec, on the third place game, I watched it on delay. It was a 7 a.m. kickoff here on a Sunday morning, so I didn't watch live. I couldn't be bothered. My read on it was, whilst there is a medal at play in third place, I guess evidently nothing to be sniffed at. It wasn't a high-octane pressured environment, really, and that's where you saw England thrive. And that's my issue with them.
I saw someone say it was basically soccer aid with better players.
Yeah,
I like it.
But so, Jeremy, you differ on Tuchel being binned off, like you keep him?
Yeah, so I absolutely would, 100%. Now, just like everybody, I was plenty angry. And as soon as he took Gordon off, I turned to whoever was behind me. And I said, this is just madness. This is not, this is not going to work. And I knew within 5 to 10 minutes that it was going to go wrong. So I don't agree. I would criticize him till the end of the earth about the way he handled that game. It was the worst man management I've ever seen in a performance at a high level. Period. Okay. But then you got the third place game and he learned something about the squad. And he's gotten a lot of flack for his comment about the DNA, how England cannot retain possession, right? It's not in our DNA, he said. I'm taking this a whole different way. I look at it that Tuchel now has a better understanding of England, our strengths and our weaknesses, than any coach could possibly have from the experience he has gone through. And I still think he's a very intelligent guy. He's an emotionally intelligent guy, intellectually smart, tactically aware, although he made a huge mistake. It was a gamble. It did not pay off. But I think he believed we could hold them at bay. Huge gamble. Didn't pay off, but I understand his thinking. He thought the players needed help because they were getting overrun. But my point being, he has now got the experience of knowing how we played against France and how we need to play and how we played when we played well. And he's got the experience of what happens when you try and do it a different way, which is not in our DNA. And he's quite right about that. And I just don't think there's anybody better placed to take us forward than he is, because he has that experience now with our team.
I will say a few things about the third place game. Number one, he didn't play a single second of Kobbie Mainoo in any fixture.
He was injured for that game. He was supposed to start.
And then he got injured. The one game he probably would have played in, he got injured.
He was supposed to start that game.
So that was frustrating. I think what we saw also was that he made an error in the semi-final not playing Saka.
Correct.
And then playing him playing him for 90 minutes in the third place game, which was not important in comparison.
That was just Saka taking the piss right there. That was just saying, look how much you screwed up here.
What I will say about that match is we were 4-0 up at half-time. We were absolutely dominant. We were rampant, but basically France never turned up. Half-time, someone got into the French team. Second half, we lost 4.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a particularly good performance. I think the good performance would have been I'd have took 4-0 or 4-1, but 6-4. That's not a football score, is it really? I don't know. I think maybe he did learn a lot because he got to see a lot of the squad that hadn't played a lot of minutes in a competitive fixture. I will also say that I think that what it did show was what life after Kane's going to look like in terms of none of the strikers that played when Kane didn't play looked like anything, which is a bit of a worrying. And we don't really have a good crop of young players coming through behind that as well.
I've got a point
on that. Specifically as strikers.
Yeah, I've got a point on that, and I'll come to it in a sec. But back to what Jeremy had just said about, and that's a key point, whether my view is to get rid of Tuchel or not, the only person that would, for me, come in and equal or do a better job would be Pep Guardiola, and that remains to be seen if the FA would do that. So that's a great point, Jeremy. If it's not Pep, there is nobody else. We're not going to get Eddie Howe. You're downgrading in Eddie Howe. You're downgrading in, I can't even think of another
I don't think there's a better option out there at the moment, I'll be honest. I wouldn't
change
him.
Here's why I say that as well. In that game, when we were... we blew a 4-goal lead. I mean, I'm thinking their halftime talk must have been an old video that was overdubbed of Fergie. Lads, it's England. I mean, come on, they just came.
Yeah.
That was it. But, at 4-3, you'd think, look at Argentina, he threw on other defenders. Against France, he threw on attacking players. He did go for it. So it's like, that's why I came to that conclusion after thinking about it. It's like he learned, and we scored 2 goals. We are a good team to hit on the counter. We can possess the ball and we can play counter-attacking football.
But then that leads me to the question, and we'll move away from England in just a minute because I'm conscious both of time and I want to talk about the final. But you said something, Jeremy, where Tuchel's come out and said it's not in our DNA to keep the ball. Then my question is, why would you take Jordan Henderson and leave someone like Adam Wharton at home? Like, he's the perfect player to bring on in that semi-final. If you had him, Elliot Anderson and Jude Bellingham in the middle of the pitch to keep the ball, like, you've got a player there. So hopefully he does learn from this, Jeremy. Hopefully this is a scar that he bears, and it's going to benefit us. Graeme, just coming back to your point about no strikers coming through, you're 100% correct. I can see Jude Bellingham as a false nine. I really can. Once Kane is out of the picture, I think Bellingham plays as a false nine because those 2 goals he scored against Norway sum him up. The one was an attacking number 10 midfielders type goal, and then the other was a fox in the box. You know, Morgan Rogers takes a punt and he's there, and it's almost like Lineker-esque tap-in. I can see Bellingham play as a false nine. I don't know if you have a view on that, but that's what I can see him doing.
It might be the least worst option if we don't have anyone.
We really do, because Watkins, I love Watkins, but he's 30, right? So it's not like he's going to be.
Is he?
Didn't he just go to? Is he going to Turkey?
I don't
know.
I
see he's just signed for a Turkish club?
Hope
That'd
not.
be a shame.
I'm sure I saw he just signed for somebody.
There'll be another striker come through. We just need. Just need the next Michael Owen. Come on.
Kane came through in a very unconventional way, so we've got to remember that, right? He'd done a lot of loans, so there could be a striker out there that nobody's even talking about. Delac is the one, probably, where if he gets his act together and maybe moves away from Chelsea.
How many tournaments have we seen over the years where Owen came out of nowhere and no one had really heard of him if you weren't a Liverpool fan? Same thing with Rooney. They announced themselves on the world stage just when it happened. So we've got 4 years to find the next one. And there's enough quality coming through the English game. It's gonna happen, I'm sure. One striker, come on, it's not that much to ask for, is it?
Yeah, you'd hope not.
It's Fenerbahce after him.
Ollie Watkins, really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. That would be
30.
Did not have that on my bingo card. I'd take him as Spurs if he's leaving Villa. Go and get him. I'd bring brilliant. Yeah.
I just think he's they're trying to raise some money to rebuild, I guess.
They've sold Rogers to Chelsea, haven't they? 100 and odd million.
Yeah.
Crazy money.
Yeah, big money. Big money for midfielders seems to be the flavour of the transfer window.
Yeah, it seems to be that. It used to be in the good old days, it was always the strikers that commanded the big fees, but now it seems to be the midfielders. And not even and sometimes it's the defensive midfielders, which seem to be the kind of marquee players.
Tonali, yeah, correct. Well, before we go down the rabbit hole of Tottenham and transfers, we'll do that in another episode soon. We've got to talk about the final. I was at points bored to tears. I thought it was an awful final. I'm glad Spain won it. I think Argentina, in particular Enzo Fernandez, got what they deserved. I think they absolutely disgraced themselves. There was even, if you remove even the fracas at the end when Paredes was punching and grabbing and somebody else was. You know what's custom when a team wins a World Cup final? The losing team always applauds them and watches on. They just turn their back. And they were down the other end of the pitch. I mean, they are an absolute disgrace. Jeremy, I think you were saying similar when we joined off air, but do you want to put some more colour around that, mate?
No, I think, how much colour do you want here? I think we've all known that for many years. We've all grown up with this. They're despicable. It is part of the culture. I hate to say it. I read years ago, I don't know, did you guys read the Ricky Villa book?
I did.
No, I haven't read it, no.
You don't read it. It's a really good read. And it kind of gave me a different impression of it because they look at cheating, not as cheating, but as using the game, use every aspect of it. They can't understand why the English are honest. They don't understand why Jed Spence didn't roll around like he'd been shot after Messi stepped on his foot. And if he had done, we'd have probably gotten the free kick. So to be fair, they know how to use that stuff. I don't have a problem with that because now I understand from that book especially that it is part of their culture. It's how they learn. It's South American football. We see it all the time. And just because we don't do that doesn't mean they're not right. They might be. But there's a limit to it, isn't there? There's a certain level of decency and sportsmanship. I mean, could you imagine a huddle at the end of that game or any game between England and Argentina where members of both teams are huddled together? And some of us are teammates together. Romero plays in England, Fernandez, England. They're all teammates, different clubs, but they just conduct themselves in such a way that is so beyond despicable. They are anti-football. But Spain actually deserve a bit of criticism too. They're very cynical with their fouling. They just get away with it because they're very good at it as well. But they're a very cynical team. It's very, very kind of Pep style as well, isn't it? Don't let the other team get a rhythm. Foul them. Soft fouls though, all the time.
in isolation, that one moment that I really did chuckle at, it was Enzo Fernandez being sent off and essentially refusing to leave the pitch. How much has changed in 60 years when Ratin, quarter-final of the World Cup, 66, refused to leave the pitch? But like you said, Jeremy, it's just taught, isn't it? It's culture. It's culture.
But after that incident 60 years ago, they came up with the red card. Now he refused to leave after the red card. So now they've got to come up with something new. It's going to be, we need to have some kind of rope that goes around him and just drags the fucker off. That's what it is.
Shepherd's crook.
Yeah, something.
Yeah,
Get him
absolutely.
out.
I mean, it was, and then Messi seems to get a pass. And I don't particularly like Cucurella, but what Messi did to Cucurella was a disgrace. When he put his mouth and he goes, "Oh no, look what he's doing! Look what he's doing!" And it's like, what? It's like, yeah.
I think, and the fact they had no shots 90 minutes is mad. And also, I just had no idea how they didn't end the tournament with more cards. It amazes me that how little they were really penalised for it as well. It's like they got a free pass most games.
They did,
And given that it was the same weekend, and I think Argentina had made no attempt really to play football at all. And I said, I was just saying to Jeremy before we started, Glenn, that there was less rugby played in Buenos Aires against England on Saturday. It was just,
They had a bad day, didn't they?
Yeah.
But there was one other thing. I tried to kind of think about it from a different perspective. And there is a unique situation here that we have Messi, and it's probably his last World Cup, right? 39. And I actually kind of tried to give them a pass mentally, thinking that a lot of this is because they were so desperate to win this for Messi. And you can understand if you've got a player of that stature, probably the greatest of all time, you want to do whatever it takes. And I tried to give him a pass for that, but the way it just went above and beyond, and with all the help from FIFA and the refereeing and everything and the cheating, they just took it so far that you cannot give him a pass on anything. It's just not possible. Despicable.
And also, the banner from the semi-final, which it's a breach of FIFA rules, and not a single thing was done about it.
Can you imagine if the England players held up a Falkland Islands flag, just a flag?
You'll never take the Falklands.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
We'd have been banned from them. That we would have. Yeah.
And this is not a political podcast, clearly, but one thing I'll say is, and we were having dinner as a family, just in a very curious way. Lindsay was like, "Well, what's the backstory to this?" Because she was under the assumption, which would be a correct assumption, because the Brits had a bit of a habit of doing this, that we invaded and we took it as our own. I said they've never owned it. Argentina have never owned them. Like, it goes.
No one lived there before we ended up there.
No one lived there.
There was no one there.
It was, I think it's 1600s before Argentina was even a country. We owned them. And they did a referendum. I think it was 98% of they're British.
Even better. So at the time they did, it was 2016 or something? It was quite recent,
2013.
Right? 2013. When they did it, at the time, there were 18 Argentinians living on the island who could vote in the referendum, and 3 of them voted to not be part of Great Britain, which means 15 Argentinians who live there, the majority of them decided to stay as it is.
And Graham touched on it, the rugby, the Argentinian team in the rugby, not that I watched it, but I saw like on BBC Sport, they wore a replica of the 1986 World Cup jersey in that game, the rugby players did. We live rent-free in their head, don't we? It's bizarre.
We do. They hate us on such a level. You know, and they must be so ignorant. They don't even know their own history. The only reason he pulled off the Falklands invasion or tried it was because he was desperate. You know, the country was in ruin. It was like a desperate move.
It was the second military coup in a number of years as well, wasn't it? Like Gautier, it wasn't
6
the
years.
It was, and he basically had a choice of 3 wars, and he thought this was the easiest one because he didn't think that we'd turn up.
We're not going to go for it.
Maggie weren't having it, yeah.
No.
But
very strange.
Back to... Go ahead.
And I think, obviously we had Chris on, and I think maybe there's a generational element to this, right?
I think there is.
Because most people, younger generations, millennials and younger, and I remember in 82, but I was still only 11. It's not like, it's still in living memory for me, but there'll be people that this happened before they were, and they probably like,
and Chris didn't particularly go there and say Falklands Malvinas, but what he did say was the issues that he called them issues. He goes, I just don't care. And many generations, we just don't. And I think it's a combination of, you look at those players, whilst they're from that era as well. They're in their 20s, but they're on a global platform. They've got an opportunity to make a noise, and I think someone's in their ear telling them to do so constantly.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But back to the football.
Just last thing. Has any nation in a World Cup ever harmed their own identity as much as Argentina did on a global stage?
No,
I was shocked.
I
expected it from us because obviously we have this checkered history with them. But the social media's been awash with South American teams saying how much what they want. We should support all of the South American teams except Argentina. The hatred they get from all of their surrounding neighbours amazes me. I mean, I spoke with Alex, my Brazilian friend, and he was everyone. I think, did you see the video of Richarlison celebrating? When
I did. Yeah,
when Spain scored,
yeah, it's so funny.
But like, it's just it was really.
I tell you, who didn't celebrate?
Shocked.
You know who didn't celebrate?
Who's
There's
that?
a video that went around I saw today. Infantino, he did not celebrate. He was like very. You could see it's like this was not in the script here.
Yeah. And Trump almost let slip that that's actually his team. I'll tell you what. I want to move on to just 2 other things from the final. But before I do so, get your bets in now. Argentina without Messi in the next World Cup will struggle to get out the group. Calling it now. I think they're a poor team.
I don't know. They've always got so much talent. They've still got good attacking players.
I think the problem as well is if they do go ahead with 64 teams next tournament, they'll end up playing Easter Island and the Isle of Sheppey in the group. It's going to be such a weird. The amount of teams that are going to qualify, and they're already qualified, they don't even have to make it there, which means
that's a very good point. Yeah,
that then it's a 6, so there's only 6 out of 20, so there's 58 spots left. Is that how it works?
Well,
if they go to 64, Italy might have a chance then. Yeah, they might actually qualify. Yeah.
Scotland might be there again.
Yeah.
But I really hope it doesn't go that big, though. I mean, I actually thought this was okay, this format, and I liked the whole third place table. You could see
it made
live
it
and see. Yeah. It did make it more interesting. I liked it, not just straight the top 2. I actually thought it worked really well. And I think our fears going in were like, who the hell wants to play Cape Verde, right?
But
they showed.
All of a sudden, it was, I want to watch Cape Verde, yeah.
Every team showed themselves and gave them, came away with a high level of respect on the global stage. Well,
I think the only 2 that really, I think, really shit the bed, for want of a better term, was the Netherlands and Germany.
Oh, well, yeah.
Absolutely awful. Again, I was quite
German
shocked.
Efficiency. They packed and gone home before most people had unpacked. I mean, they're brilliant at it.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
I thought the Dutch would be better than they were, and the Germans, I thought they might struggle, but I didn't think they'd go out that early.
The thing with the Dutch was they were better. They were good. They were actually good in group stage. They looked decent. I was like, oh, these could go deep. And then it was almost like they met Morocco and it just didn't happen for them. But look, we've talked about Argentina disgrace himself. Let's just bring it back around to talk a little about Spain. Worthy winners for you guys? They conceded 1 goal across the whole tournament. I think European champions as well. Worthy winners? I think so.
Yeah.
Can't argue.
Yeah. I think it would have been one of the teams I would have picked. I can't remember who I said at the time, but I think I said Argentina with Portugal as a dark horse, but that sort of didn't materialise. But I think it was, isn't it the top 4 teams were in the semi-finals? Ranked
first time ever.
First time ever that's happened. Yeah,
it's actually the first time ever that the top 3 teams have been in the semi-final, let alone the top 4.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. And then look, we've got 4 years to wait, 2030, but we've got to talk about it. We've got Spain, Portugal, Morocco, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, all qualifying as hosts, which is just nuts. I don't understand that at all. Look, before we move away from the World Cup that was, I don't know if you've got anything else to add, Graeme or Jeremy, but if you could sum this World Cup in one word, what would you pick? I'll start. American. Jeremy,
FIFA.
FIFA. All right. Graeme, one word to sum this World Cup up.
Fast.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I
have. There's a few things I need to get off my chest before we do. So
no, go. Yeah,
I will knock them out in one hit if that's so that we can close this out. But so I talked about the mental range of kickoff times, the countdown kickoffs that can get in the bin, hydration breaks, aka ad breaks,
in the bin.
Big no from me. Halftime show or shit show, more like, and it wasn't even in the Stadium Bowl.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney was the best of that. What did you think, Wayne? Crap.
But the thing is, right? There's people who paid tens of thousands for tickets, and
they
weren't even in the bloody stadium. They were on the screen. I had as good a view of it as they did.
Yeah.
Goal music. This is not ice hockey. No, thank you. Cameras panning to celebrities. Could not care less. Donald Trump needs a football restraining order. The host nation's political pressure. Infantino rolling over and having his tummy tickled by the Peace Prize winning Trump. Governing bodies just not fit for purpose.
The referee being banned at the beginning. Like not being able to let in.
So many things.
Ticket prices. I mean, just absolutely. There was a guy, close on this, just on our last rant about all what was wrong with it. There was a guy interviewed on the way to the final. And the guy was doing this interview on, like, how much you pay for your ticket? $72,000.
For the final?
$72,000.
Was he Argentinian or Spanish?
I think he was Spanish. Jeremy, I logged in a couple of weeks ago just out of morbid curiosity on what I could get a final ticket for. On the FIFA resale site, $2.3 million. There was one listed. I'm not saying anyone paid that, but it's just nuts.
I bet someone did.
Yeah, it's just nuts to me that you're allowed to list it for that.
Did you see those VIP seats with sofas on the pitch side? They were $1 million each.
Yeah. I got really cross. There was a moment, I don't know if you saw it on, you would have seen because the global feed's the same, but there was when they cut to Trump and he was stroking the World Cup. I got so cross. He was in his executive suite.
Wanted to bludgeon him to death with it.
And I got so angry. I was like, you're not allowed to touch that. You can't touch that. Like, you have to have won it to touch that, you little fuck. It's like,
he has no respect for anything. He doesn't understand it. I think the last thing I took away from it, you can say one word. I would expand it to the one thing that became clear to me and all of us, I think, is that FIFA is a drug dealer, and it is peddling the one drug that none of us can do without. Yeah, and that's the truth of it. All know better. We all don't want it. We all disagree with every aspect of it. But when it comes to shove, we're all in it, and we'll be back for the next one and the one after that. That's the way it is.
Fantastic summary. Really good summary. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. The one thing I will say is I've seen a lot of Americans suddenly realizing, actually, this football's pretty good, and really, and then showing a real interest in it. And I've seen a lot of Americans picking a Premier League team ready for the season. So if nothing else, if it's awakened a new tranche of supporters in the US, it's not a bad thing, right?
Lindsay was getting messages, and Jeremy knows this, where Lindsay's from rural Nebraska, where football, not a thing at all. They call the other football. And she was getting messages from her friends in Nebraska saying, we've been watching so-and-so game. It's had that reach, which is great to see. But no,
I think
summary.
They had no idea. I think there's a lot of people still have no idea how big a spectacle the World Cup is compared to the Super Bowl, for instance. They think that's the biggest thing in the world.
There's footage circulating on that, Graeme, and it talks about this guy. I don't know who he is, but he's a soccer, they call it, obviously, advocate in America. And he's talking to his guest on his podcast or whatever it was about, he said to her, how many viewers does Super Bowl get? And I think it was like, whatever it was.
It's about 115 million or something like that.
115 million. And she said, yeah. And he goes, do you think that's big? And she said, yeah. And he goes, how many viewers globally do you think Liverpool Man United in a regular league match got? Just as an example. I said, I don't know, 100 million. 750 million.
Really? That many?
For a league game, yeah.
For a league game. For one that's just a regular league game. So
it's over $1 billion for the World Cup final, right? It's over $1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Wenger's come out and said no more hydration breaks, apparently. They're going to look at that. And
really?
Yeah, apparently they're going away. UEFA never leaned into it. They're not going to be a thing at the Euros.
I seem to recall he did love a good water bottle to kick, though, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe he wanted to kick them.
Can I give one last quick rant, which you guys can't know?
Yeah, once you've done that, I've got one other really important thing to cover, but you go, mate.
Okay, Graeme, you won't know about this. I'm telling you, Glenn, probably not. This morning, I was on a phone call, and this sums up. It's happened more than once, and the guy said, yeah, I really started watching the football and enjoyed it. Enjoyed the third place playoff between Great Britain and France. Or no, just between Britain and France. And I'm like... No, don't give the Scottish or the Welsh anybody any credit for any part of this. No, you got to understand this. So they still don't quite get that part of it, but at least there's interest here. So making progress.
Indeed. Look, before we close out, Graeme, and I'll hand it back over to you to do so in a moment. But on a sad note, we can't do this recording today and not cover that Kevin Keegan sadly passed away. Pretty decorated career, manager of Newcastle, most famously, I think, for a lot of us lot. I would love it if we beat them. If you haven't seen it, go and find it on YouTube. It's a great rant.
England
manager as well.
one of my favourite videos of him is falling off of a racing bike on Superstars as well.
A highly infectious individual, a great guy. You talk about front foot football. He did not give a fuck. He was just go play.
So you score 3, we'll score 4.
Yeah. So a sad loss to the football world. So
indeed.
Just
also, a mention on that, especially for people who weren't around then. Kevin Keegan's also important because he was the first English kind of superstar player to go and play abroad. Never happened before.
He
went to Germany. Hamburg. Went to Germany.
He won. What was it? The
European
Ballon d'Or.
Yes, he did. I believe he did. Yeah,
pretty sure.
Player of the whatever it was called back then. But yeah, he won it twice, I think, didn't he?
Mm.
But they loved him over there, and I think a lot of people say that that move did a lot to help repair relations between England and Germany, because it wasn't that long after the war at that point. Now it seems hard to imagine there's a problem. But really there was always that foreign problem. But he kind of went a long way to changing things there. And now we got Kane, obviously, there. Oh, yeah, obviously Bellingham's in Spain, but Kane in Germany. So Keegan was really a trailblazer in so many ways, in the way he approached it as a player, the way he approached it as a manager. And then going to Hamburg, that was a huge move. That just didn't happen back then.
Because you would have thought back then Italy was probably the go-to. Or Italy, maybe Spain, but not Germany.
Italy and Spain were the two.
Italy, I think. Spain, the Spanish league was nothing. You go to Italy.
Spain was a bit later, maybe. So it's sort of like his was really Spain, wasn't it? When you had like Bobby Robson and Venables and Lineker and
good point.
Rush and
Ian Rush, Juventus. Well, on that, like I said, just a sad loss to the football world. So look, I'll hand over to you, Graeme, but that wraps up our World Cup specials. I've really enjoyed doing these, and over this shoulder here, just up there, it's still Bobby Moore holding the World Cup in '66, and I wait forevermore for put the new one up underneath of it. But there you go.
As the song says, used to say it's 30 years ago, it's now 60.
60, yeah. At least 62. It's going to be at least 62 now. So
the song just needs to be, it's always going to hurt. That's what it is. It's always going to hurt. Don't expect different.
Indeed.
But hey, this was our best performance in a World Cup since '66. So can't take it away from them.
Yeah, indeed.
They're still achieved. Yeah.
Well, over to you, Graeme, to close us out, my friend.
Yeah, back to Spurs podcasting. We'll review the pre-season match on Wednesday, which is live on SpursPlay from Hotspur away against MK Dons. So thanks to everyone who's listened in to our World Cup specials. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tick all the algorithms so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And to close us out, come on, you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer